Hello everybody and welcome to the next of our 2023 British Touring Car Race Reviews. With me is my good friend Ben. Say hello.
Hello.
Today we're going to be covering the Thruxton round. So for those who are a bit unaware about Thruxton, allow me to give you a quick rundown, a quick overview of a few little bits and pieces. So first and foremost, it is the fastest circuit in the UK that the touring cars race at, and I believe in terms of racing series, it is one of the fastest circuits in the country. For this particular round of the Touring Car Championship, the hardest tyre compound was the only available compound in the dry. It's definitely worth mentioning that we saw some fantastic action from the side series, if you want to call it that, the additional series that come with the championship and that are shown at various rounds. So this weekend saw the Mini Miglia and the Mini 7 Racing Club races, which I believe there's one or two on the Saturday and the Sunday. If you've not seen them, highly recommend watching the highlights back and watching the Sunday. It is manic watching the Minis go crazy. So one of the main things that I'll quickly start off by saying is that the hybrid around Thruxton surprisingly was pretty useless. It did have its uses, but it wasn't as useful as it was at some of the other tracks, and it didn't actually provide better racing like some had hoped. So we'll get into qualifying first and foremost. So Sutton managed to bang a lap over 0.6 of a second ahead of second place within the first few minutes of qualifying. It was good enough to take pole for a good chunk of the session, until Josh Cook beat it with 12 minutes to go. However, Sutton came back within 3 minutes, took the pole back again with an even faster lap, which was good enough to take pole. The qualifying session was notorious for track limit penalties, which had over 25 achieved. Achieved over 25 during the entire session. The red flag came out with minutes to spare due to the bails at the final corners being pushed in by the drivers. Most notably, Dan Camish slightly hit it, and that was kind of the end of that. This obviously, with that, for those that don't know, because it was pushed in, it allowed drivers to create a faster line through the final corner, and as such go quicker than they actually should have done, meaning that obviously additional lap time, easier way to get pole and gain time on everybody else. So obviously they had to red flag to put it back. Once it did get going, cars were going out left, right and centre trying to bang in a fast lap. The BMWs were a notable one. We had drama at the end as well, as multiple cars flew off the track due to oil being dropped by Aaron Taylor-Smith's car. No one got hurt, there wasn't any accidents, but yeah, it was a bit dramatic at the end. So the Power Max cars qualified really well in 4th, 7th and 8th place respectively. We'll get onto them in due course. But the pole time for qualifying was a 1:15.489 by Ash Sutton. He was ahead of Tom Ingram and Josh Cook, who were 2 and 2 and a bit tenths back respectively. So moving into race 1. Before the race even started, we had drama, as Andrew Watson had a broken hub, meaning he didn't start from 7th place and instead went to the pit lane. But on the actual track, when the race did get underway, we saw a great start by Ash Sutton. Jake Hill did get involved in the front mix as he went from 5th to 4th and right behind Cook, with Turkington going with him. Further back, Adam Morgan had Dan Rowbottom for company, with both of them fighting it out for position. Stephen Jelly got run out wide at the end of lap 1 and had to hold off Moffat, which he did do in the end and ended up getting past for 15th place. Dan Rowbottom managed to get ahead of Ricky Collard into the first complex on lap 2. At the end of the lap, there was a collision between Tom Chilton and Stephen Jelly, which dropped Jelly down the order to the back, with Sam Osborne and Nick Halstead being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Andrew Watson made the most out of cars going off by going from last up to 21st within the first 5 laps. On lap 6, we saw a battle for 14th place between Dan Lloyd, Tom Chilton and Aidan Moffat, with Chilton getting ahead of Moffat 15th by going down his inside into turn 6 along the back end of the circuit. Lap 8 saw Dan Rowbottom put a move on Mikey Dole for 8th by doing a very textbook switchback move coming out of the first complex, which was very nice to see. Dan Lloyd went wide into the chicane at the end of lap 8 and dropped down to 17th place. Meanwhile, back at the front, Sutton was controlling the gap between him and Ingram, with Cook seeming to be infuriated despite having more hybrid laps for deployment. He just couldn't find a way past the Hyundai, unknown for us. Then we had a disaster as Dan Rowbottom reckoned he had a puncture on lap 10, which caused him to come into the pits and get his front left wheel changed, and obviously dropped him down the order. Ricky Collard managed to put a great move on Adam Morgan for 9th on lap 12. And then Morgan got involved with a scrap with Mikey Doble for 8th place. Collard got involved as well. 3 then quickly became 6 as Bobby Thompson, Tom Chilton, Aaron Taylor-Smith got involved with it all as well. So it was an interesting short scrap between the 6 of them. Up at the front though, it was Ash Sutton who dominated to win, with Tom Ingram and Josh Cook rounding out the podium. So moving into your race 1 results. So you had Ash Sutton was your race winner, along with Tom Ingram and Josh Cook, who came 3rd and also snagged the fastest lap. GK was 4th ahead of Dan Camish in 5th. Then we had Turkington in 6th ahead of Rory Butcher in 7th. Mikey Doble in 8th ahead of the other Power Mats Racing Vauxhall of Aaron Taylor-Smith in 9th. And Bobby Thompson rounded out top 10. Over to you for race 2, Ben.
Yeah, so for race 2, we had a great start by Sutton, with Cook also trying to get past Ingram at the same time. So he had quite a lot going on. It was lovely to see. Hill also was then trying to attack Cook into the first complex. He had like a bit of a 4-way sort of battle going on, and Sutton starting to creep ahead. Bobby Thompson nearly lost it. Like, he was lucky that he managed to keep the car going. And then Will Powell gets punted off the road and into the barriers, and this wrecks his car. And then on to lap 3, Dan Rowbottom was in 18th after starting from near the back, and he managed to start to climb his way through. And then you see George Gamble retires not long after. He pulls off with suspension damage. On lap 4, Bobby Thompson's day got really bad, and it didn't get better for him. He slowed down and pulled into the pits with a problem. Meanwhile, Rowbottom managed to gain more places by overtaking Pearson for 16th, with a really aggressive overtake into the first complex, and then up to 15th, because there's massive 4-way gaggle going on after Patson and Watson collided in the first chicane, and this allowed Lloyd and Osborne to catch up as well, which kept everybody moving. On to lap 6, Camish got ahead of Butcher for 5th, then shortly following this we saw Jelly put an easy move on Osborne, and he managed to get 18th place. On lap 7, Chilton got past Dobble for 12th place with a nice overtake. On lap 9, we saw Rowbottom continues gain even more places, and managed to get past Dobble for 13th with a really nice little switchback, going in and out of each other, going into the first chicane. He managed to keep it and make it stick. On lap 12, Jade Edwards' car pulls over to the side of the track, and this is it. This is the end of the race for her, that's it. On lap 15, Dan Lloyd received a 10-second penalty for track limits. And the final lap, Turkington finally gets past Butcher to take 5th, with Rowbottom getting past Morgan for 11th as well. Ash Sutton managed to keep it clean, and he crossed the line in 1st. So, your race 2 results are your winner and also fastest lap, Ash Sutton. 2nd, Ingram. 3rd, Cook. 4th, Hill. 5th, Camish. 6th, Turkington. 7th, Butcher. 8th, Aaron Taylor-Smith. 9th, Collard. And 10th, Moffat. Over to you for race 3, Brad.
Thanks, Ben. So, race 3 was, again, a bit similar to race 1. There wasn't too much action. But it was Adam Morgan who got a great start, with Aidan Moffat slotting in behind, with some cars going 3 wide on various parts of the circuit. Ash Sutton worked his way past Josh Cook. Meanwhile, further back, we saw Aidan Pearson versus Sam Osborne for position, with Pearson coming out on top. Dan Rowbottom made his way past Collard for 3rd on the 2nd lap. However, a lap later, Collard got back past him again, with Rowbottom then re-securing the position to take 3rd back. Moments later, Turkington managed to pass Collard, which dropped him down to 5th. We had Dan Lloyd and George Gamble go head-to-head into the final chicane on lap 4, with Dan Lloyd coming out on top. However, he was repassed a few corners later, so not a great day for Dan Lloyd. We had Dan Rowbottom's adventure continued as he got past Moffat for second on lap 6. We then saw Aaron Taylor-Smith go up against Collard, however he couldn't find a way past him. Lap 10, we saw Dan Rowbottom finally hit the front by taking Adam Morgan just before to Church Corner. So it was a lead that he wouldn't relinquish. A bit further into the race with lap 14, we saw Tom Chilton pit to retire. Then on the following lap, we saw Jade Edwards retire with a problem. It's unknown what the problem was, but again, she's not having a great season so far, and it's kind of a shame. But again, 2 races, 2 problems. Something clearly isn't right with that Cupra that she's driving. But I'm sure they'll fix it eventually. Jake Hill saw an opportunity to pass Camish, but compromised his speed, which allowed Ingram to pass him. Despite Hill trying to get back past him, he didn't have enough power to repass him for the position, and obviously had to drop behind him into 10th place. Up at the front, though, it was Dan Rowbottom who took his second BTCC win in his career, with Adam Morgan and Aidan Moffat rounding out the podium. So your race 3 results then. Dan Bottom wins a not very action-packed race with Adam Morgan in second, Aidan Moffat taking a nice 3rd place for the team. 4th was Colin Turkington ahead of Ricky Collard in 5th, and we had Aaron Taylor-Smith in 6th, ahead of Rory Butcher, Dan Camish, Tom Ingram and Jake Hill to round out the top 10. Just so you know, Josh Cook took the fastest lap by finishing in 11th. So what does that do to the driver's standings? Well, unsurprisingly, Ash Sutton is still at the top of the hill, with everybody trying to catch him on 183 points versus 169 points that Tom Ingram has in second. Then it's a 27-point gap to Colin Turkington in third, who's just ahead of Jake Hill by 12 points, ahead of a very narrow margin of 2 points between Hill and Camish. Then we have Dan Rowbottom and Josh Cook tied on 95 points each for 6th place, and Adam Morgan and Rory Butcher tied on 90 points for 8th place. Ricky Collard rounds out the top 10 on 63 points. So Ben, who are your winners from the weekend?
NAPA Racing, Ash Sutton obviously, and yeah, probably just say Rowbottom to be fair. Just the NAPA Racing lads seem to have figured something out.
For me, if I'm going to go different, I pick Sutton and NAPA Racing as well. But if I'm going to go different here, I'm probably going to say One Motorsport, because obviously Cook getting 2 podiums, Moffat getting a podium in the last race, so they got a good chunk of points for that team. BMW didn't do too bad with Turkington, but again, with Hill and the BMW really struggling against the others. I mean, Morgan didn't do too bad to get second in the last race, but I think WSR came away with a good chunk of points as well. Just going to quickly move on to a little side question here, very briefly. But overall, given the fact we're 12 races in and Sutton's won 6 races, is there any end in sight to the NAPA Racing domination, do you think?
Personally, I could see there not being many ways. It seems they've got it nailed this year. They've looked through the regulations and everything. They've figured out what they're going to do, and they've got everybody sort of well and truly they're good with that car. I could see maybe mechanical problems, maybe something like that could fetch into the mix. Other than that, I'd personally see it's going to be interesting still, because obviously anything can happen. If they can keep it at Knockhill, that'll definitely sort of seal it in my opinion, because I always think Knockhill's one of them weekends where it usually kicks up and the heat is on. So yeah, I don't know. Apart from mechanical troubles, I'd say the other teams are lacking, possibly, but they might not be. There could be something they might figure out.
Yeah, I think from my side, it's hard to see the NAPA domination ending. However, as we alluded to before we started recording this, it is touring cars, so anything can happen, and as you said, anything can happen as well. So there's that. We move on to Oulton Park, though, next, which is one that Tom Ingram goes quite well at, or did last year anyway. Can you see him challenging Sutton for race wins next time out?
I mean, possibly. It's especially a lot of the tracks coming up are ones where he usually sort of starts gaining back from people who are ahead of him in the championship. So it's not impossible. There's definitely there's still that cork in the bottle as such, and I could definitely see it. That's why I said, depending on what happens and where it's all standing at Knock Hill, will sort of depend on where it falls at that point, I'd say, for me.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But on that note, we are going to wrap this video up here. Many thanks to all of you guys that sit and watch these videos and support us on the channel here. We really appreciate it. Let us know down in your comments what you thought of this weekend's racing at Thruxton. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let us know. Also, let us know in the comments. The same question that I just asked to Ben. Who can you see? Can you see NAPA racing being stopped in terms of its domination? Or can you see it carrying on for the rest of the season? Again, let us know in the comments. And on that note, we'll wrap this video up here and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for the next round at Oulton Park. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Have yourself a great day wherever you are. And of course, as always, ta-ra.
Bye.